So I want to shift gears into, you mentioned that, when there's a difference in the level of interest among generations, this is something we encounter a lot. This actually happened with me and my father. My father started a CPA firm, and he had every intention of grooming me and subtly trying to hint at me to become an accountant, which I did. I am a CPA, just like him. And he was kind of hoping, there was this ongoing joke that when I graduated school and I got my accounting degree, I then went to work for a large Big Four company. And he would say, I wanted you to be good, but not that good. I wanted you to come work for me. And he wanted me to take over the family business. It was the firm he started. He wanted me to take it over. And I had absolutely no interest. I was adamant that I was not going to do that. Come to circle back after he passed away, about 2 years later after he passed away, I kind of had my fill of the high-paced travel, going to New York City all the time, and I was getting tired. And I said, you know what I really want? A really low-key firm in the suburbs that just does one type of industry and is easy to manage. And it's like, son of a gun. I would have had that at my fingertips had I said yes to him. But it's not typically what the next generation wants when it's ready to be passed on. This is what we encountered, where it wasn't what I wanted then. It wasn't what I wanted in my 20s, but it's what was available to be passed on. Do you encounter challenges with passing on a business to the next generation or getting them engaged? And how do you navigate sort of understanding, the succession planning for those business owners?
Yes, and that's very common, Shannon. I have to say that in cases like the one that you have described, not sharing a dream of the future is very common. You can force that, but it won't be natural. I mean, if there's always like a small seed in every next generation that can grow to a really interest in the business or not grow at all. It depends on how you cultivate that. But the thing is that eventually you will be an owner of a business. I don't know if that was your case. I don't know if you inherit the shares of the business, but
I did not.
Okay, but in most of the cases, especially because that kind of business of professional services, it's very hard to manage without the founder. But in other businesses, the next generation, if they are not interested in the business, that's something that we can talk about. But eventually, they're going to be owners of the shares that they're going to inherit. And what we want to do, and we need them to do, is to be responsible owners of what they're going to receive, because probably the business is going to be running the moment that they receive it. So I don't know if you are going to work in the business. I don't know if you are really interested in the business, but I need you to be a responsible owner of what you are going to receive. And what means being a responsible owner? You have to be a good partner, because probably you are going to receive that with siblings or other people. So you need to know the business. You need to know what is it about, who are the providers, who are the clients, where is the market. You can name a board that run the business, but you have to know what you are going to own. So that's the least thing that we need for the next generation. Once you have that, you have the base. Sorry.
No, 100%. And I think that, to your point, I say take ownership, and it's literal and figurative. I say take ownership of those decisions and say, you may not want to long-term manage this business, but you will inherit it as an owner. You have to be responsible with what the next step is. So whether that's if you want to continue managing it, who you assign as leadership, how and often you want to be involved in it, how you interact with the team. Something that always goes by the wayside sometimes is people think about, oh, well, when I'm gone and I pass on my business, the biggest thing is, well, what happens to the employees? What happens to the existing operations? We talked about this, my husband and I, even with succession planning for, if one of us, God forbid, were to pass away, what the other person's responsibilities would be. And it's very similar with inheritance. It's saying, hey, you may not want this long term. And I understand you don't share the same dream, but if something is to happen to me, this is what you need to be doing. And what are those conversations, and when are those conversations happening based on your recommendations when it comes to setting up your family for success?
Well, first of all, we're talking about businesses. So
Right.
you don't want your business to lose value. Okay.
Right.
If you're going to be the owner, the moment that the business is in risk to lose value is in the succession process. So, for example, if I'm the owner of a business and I don't have any will that will work on how to pass the baton, and I don't have anything to do, everything depends on me. And the next day, if I die, the business will lose all of the value because I'm going to take with me all of the knowledge and everything with me. So if I am the next generation of this business, I don't want this business. I mean, it doesn't have any value without my father. So this is the worst moment of the value of the business. If we can plan that, if we can be sure that the next owners are going not to run the business, but at least to make that the value doesn't decrease, then in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, the next generation can sell the business because this is a business that's run without one person responsible. It has a structure. And that's a very good business. I mean, that's when you make money, selling the business that way. So that's why it's important to create the structures of the governance, because basically it's all related with who make the decisions of the business. That's the best value that you can do with a family.
Totally agree. How do you recommend starting that conversation, especially when you have children or the next generation who will be engaged in that, but maybe they're not of the same maturity or professional level to appreciate or fully understand the gravity of what's going on?
Well, it all depends, and you're very right. It all depends on the mature of the next generation. What's the perfect age to start talking about businesses? I would say now is the good, but you have to use the proper language. I mean, you cannot talk about numbers and financial concepts with a 12-year-old kid. What you have to do in that age is to start telling stories. That's the way that kids learn, telling stories. So how do I start the business? Why do I do that? Or why do I do the other thing? What do I do? What do I discover every time that I work? And that kind of information that you can send to the next generation will create that emotional connection. And eventually, when they are mature enough, they will see. And it has to be based on freedom always. You cannot force everything. There is a moment that they will decide, okay, I will work with you, or I will go with my own path. But eventually they will have enough information and emotional information to understand what's the role that they can play in this, the whole story that they are listening. So
Yeah,
it
and to your
depends on the moment.
point, I think that a lot of it is the association they have with how the business will impact family and their lives, because I'm thinking back to my experience, and my vivid memory of my dad and his business was him being in a basement for 3 months out of the year and not really talking to us. And I'm going, I never want to work that hard. I never want to be like gone for, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and like go to bed late and like never see my family. I don't want that. So I said, I'm never going to like take that home and do all that work and do that. And then I realized, I said, it's all about how it's framed though. Because if there were more stories shared, if there were more like, this is what I'm working on right now, or here are some examples of my clients I work on or what I do for them. If there was more transparency as to what was going on with the business, I think it would have been more interesting. But I think you only see your perception or your window into what's going on, and it's your lived experience and your association with it. I think the more you can expose your kids or your family to the nuance and even the successes, like your wins for the day shared at the dinner table, something that you accomplished today, as opposed to the things that are stressing you out, I think that can make a big difference. Do you agree?
Yes. I mean, there is no more passionate that owning your own business. It's amazing. I mean, but it's also something that you have to understand how to live with the risk of your incomes that
Yes.
are not always content. So and that's an important point. I mean, I don't think that everybody can be an entrepreneur because not everybody has the same appetite for risk on having a business. Having a business is a very risky life. And it depends. You like a risk? You like to bet on that? Or do you prefer to be an employee and have your, certain security that you never have any security in anything, but that's the kind of life that you are trying to invite to the next generation. Do you want to come to this kind of life? Probably not everybody wants that kind, because not everybody has the same appetite for risk. So,
Right.
But eventually you will find a way, because all of this is so passion. All of this is so stories and things that you can eventually create the perfect message for the next generation to attract them to this. And you have to, if you are a founder, you have to modulate the content of the message. Not everything has to be the bad part. Not everything has to be your worries. And you can mix that with the good part of the story. And
Absolutely.
And of course, you have to put priorities in your life. If you really, because you have to be coherent with your message. So if you want to tell them that this is for them, you have to spend time with them, and that's the secret.
I completely agree. I think that goes a long way, is showing up with saying this is all for you. Well, but we don't see you,
Yeah.
and it's you're sacrificing the very thing that you're on a mission to accumulate in the name of what? It's like kind of this endless cycle of like, is it really for us, or are we getting lost in this cycle? And I think a lot of the younger generation, like the second generation, will see that, associate that, and then be resistant to taking on the business. Or like I say, it's all in how you associate it. So the more that I think entrepreneurs can integrate, as funny as it is to be taboo to talk about business at the dinner table and so on, I think the more that the younger generation can get limited exposure in certain dimensions to the business, the more curious they will become. And then they will actually generate their own interest in it.
Yes. And again, it all must to be done by freedom, by a freedom perspective. And especially in this generation, in my generation, we still have that possibility of working in the business. I come from a family business, and I work in the family business. And when I graduate, practically I don't have any choice. I could make the choice, but in that time, making the choice on working on your own path wasn't a good thing for the society, because they will think, okay, you are leaving your family behind, you are not working. Today, you have that situation. The freedom that we see in today's generations is something that doesn't will contradict what society thinks about the business in the family. So it's a different situation. And
Definitely.
I remember that my father, when he joined the business of his family, he didn't have any choice. It was like he needed to go there because there was no other way. So so we have to use the same tool of convincing. It's freedom. You have the choice, but take a moment to see what I have here. Maybe you will like it.
Yeah. And, when someone is forced in a sense, without that choice, like you said, the business is most vulnerable in many cases at that point when there's succession. And the more that you can maintain value by maintaining somebody with at least some passion to continue it on, or relationships and responsibilities to know that this is my job now, whether that's to run it daily or to find a solution, right? That's what's most important. I know that you, Guillermo, you had a book that was released on this topic. Would you mind? And I know we're on video too, so go ahead and show it in the frame and share the title of it with those listening.
Okay, let me see if I can do it right. Okay,
right. There you go.
Okay, A Road to Triumph in Family Business. So I'm trying to put here all of these ideas together in a sequence that you can follow if you want to basically set the rules, which is, I think, that is the final goal if you are trying to organize the decision-making process in a complex system as a family business. So there are 3 steps that I suggest to follow. The first one is to improve the communication. And there are ways to improve. There's always a space to improve communication, especially in a family business. The second one is to define the purpose of the family business. Not only the business, the family business. What do you want to do in the coming years with your family, with your ownership, and with your business? And the third and last, I think this is the final goal, is to set the rules. Once you have all of the best tools to communicate with the rest of the members of the business and the family, once you have your purpose defined, just work on what are the do's and the don'ts of that road that you want to go. And that's basically, it's very simple. I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah, it's simple, not easy.
Exactly.
Simple, not easy, especially when you're dealing with family.
Exactly.
Well, Guillermo, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I really appreciate all of your insights. If folks want to learn more from you, they can pick up a copy of your book, or can they follow you on social media or find you any other places?
Yes, you can find me especially in LinkedIn. I'm very active there. You will see that I'm constantly publishing articles and sharing experiences with my clients, my other partners that I work with in my advising company. And if you want to go further, just text me and I will be very glad to talk to you.
Amazing. Guillermo, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you very much for the invitation.